council meeting here Tuesday tonight, 6 o'clock, right on the button. Thanks for everybody being on time. We'll start off with the Pledge of Allegiance, and Tony, if you please stop.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right, everybody in mic up. Okay, we'll start off with a roll call.
Councilmember Bach?
Here.
Councilmember West?
Here.
Councilmember Martirana?
Here.
Vice Mayor Hedge?
Here.
Mayor Lund?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, public comment on items not on the agenda. If you'd like to come up and speak and talk to the council, we'll allow you 3 minutes. These are items that are not on the agenda tonight. Do we have any speaker cards?
No, it's not for this item.
Okay, we'll pass on that. All right, consent items. A through E, would you like to?
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent items.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hedge?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, we'll move along to presentations, informational items, and reports. I don't see Chuck out there. Should we wait a little bit, or?
Chuck won't be here this evening.
Okay.
The school's a great.
Does staff have a report for us?
Basically, we put together the treasurer's report there that kind of highlights where we're at in our fund balance and enterprise funds. As you know, and we're all aware of, this is the water conservation related to the enterprise funds. And even though we have a profit, it's down from our normal roll cash flow, we're moving through, and depreciation is positive. So the general fund revenues are lower than budgeted by about 7 grand. Expenditures are $62,000, which is lower than the budget by 14 because I've been holding back a lot of the capital improvement and expenditures just to keep the thing equal to close. Basically, the enterprise fund revenues were $144,000, which is higher than the budget by about $4,000.
Excuse me, Roger.
And the enterprise combined to-date profit was $17,000, so which is better than we budgeted by $18,000. So this current year, the date to profit includes a depreciation expense of $51,000, which is also a non-cash item.
Since our road cook-offs and a couple of our fairs and the town being a little bit busier, have we seen any spike in sales tax?
Only a very slight marginal increase, yeah.
And do we still have the company that's checking it, or?
Well, we still have the company. We have not reimbursed them for some of the invoices until we can have a representative come down here to show us how to access their accounts, through their website. Both Chuck and I frustrated that we don't have access to it.
Okay.
We haven't picked up any additional sales tax, or that's what they were for?
Yeah,
Well, I'm hoping that we see some spikes from the summer.
yeah.
With a lot
It's
of-
normal, and we've budgeted in our budget there, and I think I'm right on board of what I projected, so it's nothing that's jumping out at us where we're going to get a bigger increase.
Okay.
I got a couple
the
of
rest
questions
of
on the warrants.
Chris, I'll just kind of go around. Chris?
No, thank you.
Anything? Tony?
Maureen Kane and Associates.
And on what page is that?
It's on the back
warrants?
of the warrant, but $1,500.
That's the training we're sending Connie to.
I'm sorry?
The city clerk is going to a training.
Oh, okay. And then Water Resources Association.
That's dues.
and White Cap.
White Cap is a supply where we get maybe shovels, picks, or special construction equipment, you know.
Just different names.
Yeah.
Didn't
This
recognize.
warrant list is unusually high, and on the very last second page is the sheriff's contract. We got reimbursed $134,000 of it, and that this year's cost was $156,000.
Are we paying annually now, or do we pay monthly?
Annually, yeah, right. I hold it back until I get the cop reimbursement, then I reimburse them back. And then the next one right below that is the fire contract, and that's a quarterly at $37,000.
One here, Tony Buck.
So if you take those two contracts out, it's something right about $92,000 general operating there.
Already answered, thank you.
Okay.
No, I'm just glad that we've cut down the expenses to match our incomes. Thank you.
Sheriff's report, we have anybody from the sheriff's? Okay, we'll move on from there. Fire chief's report?
You know one thing? I thought the sheriff was supposed to be here,
There.
or at least give us a report every month.
Monthly reports were supposed to come in with lease numbers. Do we even have anything sent to us?
I think in the fire chief's report was going to be a quarterly report. I think that was the way it was.
We're going to do
drafted.
that, but going back to the sheriff's report, they were going to be monthly with activity.
Activities, and we did not.
We've always gotten activity reports in
And we
years
haven't this
past,
time?
but we haven't lately.
Okay.
I'll send a reminder email out.
Should have held his check.
Did it go out yet? Did the check go out yet?
Did we pay the sheriff?
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, that went out, I think, 3 weeks ago.
Just
Yeah.
joking, just kidding.
Careful driving home. Okay, so we don't have anybody for the fire chief's report. Okay, we'll move along. Nothing for the library report. And we'll go to administrative report.
And basically, Public Works, they're getting active on some patching, tree trimming, storm drain, and some sewer main maintenance and stuff like that. So I've got them on a schedule where the storm drain, sewer, and the water are the highest priorities. And then we can do the street patching, tree trimming. So there's a tremendous amount of curb, gutter, and sidewalk damage from the root, and we're going to just start identifying these and start tackling one at a time throughout the city.
All right.
My effort has been complying with the compliance order and the notice of violation from the Regional Water Quality Control Board, and I think I've been working with Deborah here, and I think we've got a plan, and we'll be pulling together with them and submitting it, and then we'll report back to you. It'll be very similar to the action plan that we did for the drinking water division, where we gave them a schedule, and that kind of extended over to 217.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay, we're going to move on to item F for public meetings and city council committee reports. Let's start with Chris.
I don't have anything to report. I was traveling and missed the intergovernmental and the AMBAG
You
meetings.
missed that one?
Pardon me?
You missed that last intergovernment?
I did. I was in Utah for work, unfortunately.
As far as COG goes, I can't remember if I didn't read through the minutes. Anyhow, we got the timer for the crosswalk going across the highway.
Resolved? or-
Anybody? Yeah, it's there. It's up. Tells you how many seconds you have to get across the highway now. And we got the signs. I don't know if I'm saying this word right. Superfluous signs on Washington Street, as far as the height of the underpass. Those are all gone. So anyhow, that's it.
That was kind of interesting.
9 o'clock meeting on Thursday.
As I was at the green light, ready to cross, the traffic was across the freeway and was there for probably about 3 minutes before I was able to cross with the traffic just backed up past, almost up to the overcross. It's on there? Got it?
Turned
I got
on?
thumbs up.
Is it turned on?
Is it up? What volume? Okay. Fire and intergovernment. Fire, they were going to come and give us a report. They did have a station out that they were going to recruit some more volunteers, and I didn't hear back from that yet. Pretty much it was standard about they're still looking into the plans for Station 3 out near Rosa Morada. Not much more information other than Chief Del Campo taking over on August 1st. And intergovernment, nothing really pertaining to San Juan Bautista. And that was about it for me.
No meeting.
No meeting?
At the Water Resource Association meeting, was at the Fire Protection meeting, was at the Business Council meeting. Mostly I was at the Pebble Beach tour.
You too?
Yeah. Somebody had to.
Okay.
I have a speaker card from Eric Regstoff.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. We did have a meeting last Thursday. One of the highlights we talked about for a while is there was a rash of vehicle burglaries on the 12th, which was last Wednesday. 5 confirmed that we know of burglaries. Most of them in the Monterey 3rd Street area going toward Creek Bridge, including my wife's car and
I was just going to say, you're next to the woods.
and a sheriff's deputy's car, I found out. He's slightly more upset than I am.
Probably why he's not here tonight.
Yeah, well, no, Monterey County. Specifically, the one that I know specific about, I left my house at 5:50 in the morning, and at 6 o'clock, Joe, our city worker, witnessed 2 males with boxes walking and got into a white Ford Explorer with a woman behind the wheel. He did get a license plate number, did give it to my wife, who gave it to the San Benito County Sheriff. Turned out it didn't match the car, hadn't been registered in 10 years, and was from the Santa Barbara area at that. So no real help other than it was a early 90s white Ford Explorer. Nothing, from what I understand, nothing that was large dollar amounts, just boxes and CDs and iPods, and the vehicles themselves were undamaged, which means that most of them were probably unlocked. So everybody please lock your cars at night. October 10th, we're going to be at the Luck Museum open house. We'll have our table set up again, taking signatures and trying to recruit people to join the neighborhood watch group. And I put a call in to Sheriff Thompson regarding an offer he had made at our January meeting to get a representative from our 911 dispatch system to come and do a presentation to the group. And I got an email back almost immediately, so I'm trying to figure out when we can have them to come in for our neighborhood watch group and do a presentation. And then I'll make sure that we do a lot of advertisement on that and all of the social media, all the websites. I'll give it to Trish to get it out to the general email list. And that's all I have for tonight.
You can add a stolen car to your list. I think it was either Sunday or Monday. Must have been Sunday. 3rd and Tuolumne Street.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I haven't seen a sheriff report in a couple months either. Normally they get forwarded to me, so I haven't seen those either. Kind of know what's going on. And other than going to the sheriff's website and looking up on there, they've got an update system that's okay. It leaves some details out, but yeah, that's.
Is there any way to advise people to, number one, lock your car?
Yeah.
And number 2, don't leave your wallet and your keys and your iPad and your stereo or whatever in the car.
Yeah, that is kind of silly. I'll tell you the reason why my wife's car was not locked is because she got out of her routine. She has a routine when she gets out of the car. Unfortunately, her hands were full. She has a routine when we lock the front door. She got out of that routine. Normally, we automatically hit the remotes to lock them, and it just both fail-safes failed us. So.
Well, I'm not picking on you. Just
No,
everybody
please
should
pick
do it.
away. How bad is it when the neighborhood watch guy gets his car broken into? I'll say that all the things that were taken at least out of our car were not in plain sight. I mean, they opened the trunk.
Oh.
They got into the car. They shut off the light in the car. They opened the sunroof because at 6 a.m. there's just enough light. They opened up the center console, which is where an iPod does sit. Not anymore. Obviously. But they opened up the trunk and rummaged through the trunk, and they took a box of 4th of July decorations that were lying in there from a sale.
And when did this happen, Eric?
This happened at between 5:50 and 6 a.m. last Wednesday. So when I left at 5:50, I actually heard some rustling and didn't think much about it because there's lots of dog walkers. And as it turns out, my neighbor 2 doors down had his car broken into, so they were probably heard me come out and kept quiet. So lock your cars, everybody. Pretty pleased with sugar on top. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I never lock my cars. I just leave them locked up with the dogs.
Well,
A lot of good that'll do.
if you have
with your
nothing in
dog,
it,
your
you leave it
dogs.
open, they don't break anything getting in.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move along to public hearing and/or action items. A is going to be consider an ordinance 2015 for the wastewater and sewer service rates. The first reading of ordinance. And we'll continue with staff.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and members of the City Council, as you know that we've entered into an agreement with Bartlett Wells and Associates to prepare a water and sewer rate analysis. I have Matt Griffith from Bartlett Wells and Associates in the audience here, and he's certainly, I'm going to ask him to step forward, and he's available to answer any questions. The highlight of the water and rate studies obviously is very comprehensive in terms of growth without development, no things, and so Matt can kind of summarize it, but the key to it is that we had talked about it where there are a number of important things that have to be done to our infrastructures to comply with state regulations, and that is one, getting a couple wells drilled, and two, completing that pellet plant, that water softener that will provide a better quality water. And those are two major capital improvements that have direct effect to the rate analysis here. And I'm going to turn it over to Matt, and he can kind of fill you in on the details. Thank you,
All right,
Matt.
thanks, Matt. Thanks for being here.
Of course, good evening, Council, Mayor. So, I'm with Bartlett Wells Associates. My name is Matt Griffin, and we were retained by the city, I think in December, a good while ago, and we did a water study, and then a sewer study was added to that. And so we took a comprehensive view of the city's water and wastewater finances, and we found what the revenue requirements would be for each of the systems. And from there, we determined what the rate increases would have to be to keep the system solvent, as well as we determined reserve fund targets in order to keep the health of the city's systems. And so, with Prop 218, there was a recent court hearing decision in San Juan Capistrano, and that determined that conservational rates would no longer be feasible in California. We have to determine rates based on cost of service. And so the tiers that the city had before, they were legal under the historical paradigm, but in the current paradigm with this new court ruling, we had to redo the city's water rates to a uniform rate. And so that was a major change with the city's water system. And so we took that uniform rate and we looked at the increases needed for the next 5 years to meet revenue requirements of the city.
And I think just to give you a summary of that, the tier rates are no longer there, but the water conservation, our revenues are down. Two, we still have an obligation to retire that $975,000 debt that was for PAVEX, and we've whittled it down over the last 4 years down to a balance of about $234,000. But that's still about another 3 years of obligation at $92,000 a year, plus the COP loan currently generates about $773,000 of principal plus interest. Now, what that does is that it also, and what Matt is referred to, is that requires us to maintain a 1.2% loan to balance reserve for that, and so those rates have to occur a reserve in there to maintain that rate. Then the operation and maintenance of both the water and the sewer runs about $320,000 and about $675,000 to $700,000 a year for both of them. So that, coupled with the debt, coupled with the past things, and our desire to complete that water pellet, driven the current rate study to where it is now.
Okay.
Okay.
And that was for item 5. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, Jolene Cosio.
Okay.
Jolene Cosio, 181 Lang Street. Having been intimately involved, having been on council right after we started paying down that debt, I'm very familiar with the fact that we need to try to stay ahead of this, and I have no problem with the base rate for the sewer and the water each going up roughly $1 a year over the next 5 years. However, I have a big problem with this tier rate, and I don't fully understand how that case was lost, because you do pay a higher tier rate for your energy bill and everything else the more water you pump. So I think it probably does cost the city more money to be dispensing more water. But the totals, when you look at, a lot of houses in San Juan are using 3,000 gallons a month or less. For the privilege of that, the current rate was $131.93 for sewer base rate, water base rate, and the 3,000 gallons. The first year of the new rates, it'll be $145 a month. That's pretty significant when people are on a fixed income and aren't using very much water, and that's just the first year. It, of course, continues to go up from there. That's using the 2015 rate, and that is going to be $5.64 per 1,000 gallons, and it's going to go to $6.35 per 1,000 gallons. Currently, it's only $1.94 for that first 3,000. And I think there's a lot of people in town that's all they use. We currently at our house use 4,000 to 5,000 gallons, and our rate in the fifth year will be up by $30 a month for the privilege of using the 5,000 gallons. And I just think that it's way too high. We're targeting probably the wrong demographic of people to pay for this increase that we need to have. I think we need to go after people who aren't paying at all. We need to look again at the rates for new hookups. which were lowered recently. May have been a mistake. And there's just a lot to think about on an increase that's going to be this drastic to a lot of people who can't afford to pay more.
All right, thank you. Jolene? I actually, when I was looking on the people that had fixed incomes, I actually had a conversation with Roger about that. And we're going to try and work something into the program to where people on fixed incomes that aren't going to really be able to, with a proven income, we'll be able to work with them on that part. As far as the hookups and so forth on that, we're kind of caught in one area, but we're working on kind of how to fix that because it's a one-time fee, and so we're kind of structuring around that, trying to find out, what the best process for that is.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have John Freeman.
Okay.
Hi there, John Freeman, 22 North Street, and I have taken the liberty to do quite a bit of research on that recent opinion out of San Juan Capistrano, and I haven't read the brief or the judge's opinion, but I did read several legal analysis of it on the State Water Resources Board website, and I realize you guys are caught, but this is what I would say. To the best of my knowledge, Hollister has tiered water rates. To the best of my knowledge, Sunny Slope Water District still has tiered water rates. To the best of my knowledge, Escondido, California, I used to live there, still has tiered water rates. To the best of my knowledge, San Diego, my daughter lives there, has tiered water rates. I think we're jumping again. Wait until someone tells us we have to do it. Meanwhile, I fully realize that income is down because of water conservation. I think you should raise the water rates just a flat 10% if it's down 10%. Because your rates now are far above that. I worked it out mathematically. I'm willing to go through it if you want, but it's just, I would just raise it a percentage as our percentages of income falls. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
No additional cards.
Okay. Bring it back to council. Chris?
This question is probably, this has been maybe the toughest we've had to deal with. It is a really unpleasant situation on many levels. The court ruling eliminating the tiered rates certainly is counter to my politics and wishes and beliefs, but I don't think that we have a choice in eliminating the tiered rate. We can't quantify additional cost to the city to pump additional water, and that's the basis of the elimination of the tiered rate. We can't do it unless we can justify additional costs, and we're trying to fix problems that have been generated over a very long period of time. One of the things Roger didn't mention is the $1.8 million that the general fund has lent to the water and sewer systems already. I mean, we still have that on our plate to deal with. So, they've kicked the can down the road for a very, very long time, and this is not an easy one, and it is not a pleasant decision to make, but I for one, don't see an alternative at this point.
Well, my biggest fear is, not you, Deborah, but there's an attorney out there somewhere just waiting. He's going to jump in here and he's going to sue us because we have a tiered system. Even if we won, we still have to pay legal fees. And there are these attorneys that go around the state, and I'm surprised that they haven't nailed Hollister or Escondido or wherever. They're probably on the list. And
We're taking the
So
bigger
I don't
fish
think we
first.
have a choice here. We're too small, we don't have enough money to fight these people. And I think the thing is that the residents, or our customers, or whatever you want to call them, they have to realize that, you know, we, we owe $675,000 or better on the project that was done going down 4th Street. We owe, or the enterprise funds owe the city general fund 180, excuse me, $1,894,000. And I don't think this is right. The general fund has been subsidizing the water and sewer fund all these years. Consequently, we don't have any money to fix a street. We don't have any money to fix a sidewalk. We don't have any money to hire a policeman. $1.8 million. Now, I don't know how many years that took to accumulate, but it has to stop. And the enterprise funds have to pay the city back. When they start paying the city back, then we can fix the potholes. Then we can fix the broken curbs. Then we can paint the curbs, you know. We can do a lot of improvements with that kind of money in the general fund. So my feeling is that subsidy to the enterprise funds has to stop. We're going to have to raise these rates. According to this report, we're already at close to being the highest rate in the area. And when we do this, we are going to be the highest rates. But the rest of these cities, if you want to compare it like that, Hollister is going to, I think they're going to double their rates in the next 4 to 5 years, something like that, which we're not doing. So I just think it makes common sense, bite the bullet, get rid of this tier system, and then if somebody takes it to the U.S. Supreme Court, excuse me, and it's overturned, we can go back to it. But right now, I can't see where, if we got sued, we're probably talking what, neighborhood $50,000, $100,000 in attorney's fees just to fight this, and I don't want to take that chance. So I'm for this.
You know, there's a lot, excuse me, there's probably a lot to intake on understanding the whole part of this. But, you know, we're at $1,894,000 that the enterprise funds owes the general fund. Let's look at it this way. This number right here, the interest alone will pay for a police officer. Okay, we also have revenues, you know, that will increase, you know, fire services. We'll have that money back, you know, and I also talked to Roger. I said, you know, if we're going to put this structure together, well, I want it to sunset. I don't want to say that, okay, it's going to go up and it's going to keep climbing. We talked about a sunset date, and we have a way to do a moderate increase instead of hitting it really hard at first. We've talked about other, you know, 2 ways of that. With that $1.894 million in there, we're going to be able to fix the streets. We're going to be able to get our water softener in. Tonight we're going to be giving staff direction for engineering details for the pellet softener plant. And then we're going to send it out to bid once we get that. And I really want to make sure that we can start breaking ground on this pellet softener plant in October. That's what I'm pushing for. Because it's only going to save you money. If you're spending 2-3 bags of salt a month, it's going to save you that much in just salt alone. Plus, I don't know about you guys, but I'm having to replace my fixtures about every 6 to 8 months. So if we're charging about $7 to $10 more a month, we're going to save you $15 to $20 a month in salt, fixtures, and other appliances around your house. Not to mention your laundry that has to need to be softened, you know, to do that. So there's a lot of benefits in this. I really looked in, me and Roger have been talking a lot about it, and I'm really for it.
Well, you guys didn't leave too much for me to say, but one of the reasons why this is coming up right now is that a rate study has to be done every 5 years, and we were due. And so that's why we're taking a look at it. This isn't a case where we said, oh, let's see if we can generate some more money by raising rates. It was a case where we had to do the rate study. So we had to take a look at this, and we have to keep the rates current with our costs. And as you all know, it's been said already, water systems are paying more and receiving less money because they're selling less water because of conservation. So, you know, that's another factor that none of us can do anything about, but it's something else that we have to consider. Other water systems in the area are charging similar rates. It's not like we're way on top of the pile. Santa Cruz, I know, is higher. We have the Sunny Slope Water District and the County Water District and the City of Hollister water system. And their rates are significantly higher too. So it's not like we're going way above what the market out there is. But it's just an unfortunate thing, but we also have to watch how the money comes in and how we spend it. And part of that is generating enough money to support the system. So.
I pretty much agree with all the rest of the council members, especially the idea of the kicking the can down. This problem should have been addressed 20 years ago. But as an elected official, if I had the option, I'd kick the can too, because this is not a popular thing to do. I've talked to a lot of people in the community, and they all tell me, first fix the system. Fix the system so I don't have to have the repairs to my plumbing. So that's what we're going to do. The second one is for people on fixed income, we're going to have a system in place. You know, the problem with a lot of people, and I'm close to that, is that I have a lot of money in my house. I don't have any cash. So what do you do if you have a lot of, I mean, there's a way you can defer some of the utilities and put it on as a lien onto property so that when that person sells the property and realizes that money, the city can get its share. But even if we couldn't do that, we have to worry about people who are on fixed incomes, and it's through no fault of their own. All of a sudden, what should have been spread out over the last 20 years is now getting spread out over the next 20 years. So I would support all of this as long as we have something in there for people on fixed incomes, and I think we need to fix the system. And I think if we fix the system, people are going to be a lot happier. No one likes to see the rates go up. No one likes to see the price of gasoline go up. Nobody likes to see the price of anything go up. But it does, and we have to live with it. Thank you.
You know, this quality water, you know, the quality is going to improve quality of life and everything around it. And you know, we've been looking into this for quite some time, and I wanted to make sure that we had a plan and that it would be designed, you know, over this term to get the pellet softener plant going, to get our wells finished, get all of our pipes and stuff fixed, and, you know, repairs that it's not going to be hard impact.
Well, and we're not going to repair everything at one time. This isn't going to fix everything at one time.
As it comes in, it will be, you know.
But it's going to knock out some pretty big projects in fairly short order.
I'd just like to put it in the proper frame. The city of San Juan Bautista is under the gun from a couple agencies.
Yeah.
And that is the Regional Water Quality Control Board and our sewer treatment plant. And we're discharging into that creek, and they're being fined $3,000 a month, $36,000 a year. And that notice of violation that we're working on now, Deborah and I, is to get a system, which is the water softening plant, to give us better quality water so that the end result will not discharge effluent exceeding the 200 milligrams per liter of chlorine. And so that's our objective. The second is that the State Water Division has given us the ultimatum to say we have 3 wells. One of the wells is offline because of high nitrates, well number 3. We have 2 wells. We all experienced 6-7 months ago, well number 2 experienced high nitrates, and we had to shut that down and run it very sparingly. That left us with only 1 well. And the state came and says, that's unacceptable. You have to have a reliable source of potable water. And they gave us a framework, and we've submitted it in our action plan, where we're going to have another well online to back up well number 2 and well number 1. And that has to be done within the next year or so. So those are the frameworks that our obligation is there. The third obligation is that we have a debt service of over $10 million that is going to gnaw on you. We have to maintain a 1.2% debt ratio, but we have to solve both principal and the interest for the next 29 years. And that is ongoing, as well as continue to operate those 2 plants, the water system and the sewer treatment plant. So those O&M, the debt reductions, and the capital improvement, as well as, and I haven't even mentioned, like Chris says, we owe $1.8 million back to the thing. We're going to eventually have to address that so that we can get some better services in other things. So those are the draconian things that this city is facing, and we have to make the hard decisions at this time. I don't like it any more than anybody, but I think it's necessary.
You know, the interest alone on that 1.9 mil and the 36,000 that we're doing in the discharge could almost afford 2 deputies.
So
we
we go
have
from here.
public comment from the council.
Yeah. So we, what is this, first reading?
Well, wait a minute, just one more thing. I never argued against keeping the prices the same. I wanted a 15% increase. You know, I said it right up front, so I wasn't trying to choke anything down. I just think we're getting ahead of ourselves on the tiered rate system. Other people are taking it a little slow. I understand about the lawyers' costs, but I understand that also the state legislature is working on making a rule that will overrule that judge. And so that's what I'm kind of saying. Just drag your feet a little and see what happens.
Okay.
But raise the rates.
Yeah.
Because
I don't want to prolong production.
And I think the answer to that is in the tier rates, and I don't know the other jurisdictions what they are, but in San Juan Bautista, we had an extremely low tier 1 rate. It was under $2. It just went up to $2. But the tier 2 went all the way to $4.80. And that's a difference of a big jump. And then the tier 3 went to $6.45. And when I analyzed the thing to say, can you supply water to a higher rate, I would say, okay, I can put a well on. And I amortize that over another 40 years. It only affects maybe 4 cents out of that 180 million gallons that we pump a year. And that's infinitesimal. And I couldn't justify jumping from 205 to 485 in a tier 2 rate without combining all 3 rates. And what Barton and Wells did is they gave us a 564, and that's the common rate of all 3 of them based on there. And that's how we arrived at that. Now, I agree that that's a big jump in there, but indirectly, the $5.64 per 1,000 gallons is a water conservation effort, because when people say, hey, I'm going to use from 3,000 to 6,000, their cost is going to increase substantially. So they're going to stay down at the 3,000 to 4,000 gallons per month, and that'll help them.
Well,
because indirectly, that 564 is a draconian water conservation rate.
I know one of the things that Tony and I share is we've killed off our lawns. You know, so
you got a lawn?
Kind of you know, so I'm like Jolene. I hardly ever pay over $134 a month, and I think within the first tier, if I'm not mistaken.
That is
Could I-
correct.
could I
yes.
make-
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, could I make one suggestion, possibly? Presuming that this San Juan Capistrano thing gets overturned, and we can use a tiered rate, we could say, okay, we'll pass an ordinance tonight, or read an ordinance tonight that is taking away the tiers. But 6 months or a year from now, or when we know we're not going to get sued because we have tiered rates, we can go back to it and reanalyze it and say, okay, maybe we can do tier 1 at $4 a gallon or whatever. So like I say, my main concern is that there's, and my example of it is, and he started up again. He managed to close down 9 businesses in over in the valley, Hanford or someplace like that. This guy's running around, and if you're not handicap accessible, he's suing you. All right. There's lawyers out there that do this. They look for this stuff, And so, I just think, if nothing else, that part of it, we should eliminate the tiers right at this time.
Mr. Mayor? May I make one more comment? Thank you. I understand all you're saying, obviously, about needing to increase the income for the enterprise funds, for the sewer and water funds both. But what none of you addressed was my comment about we need to get harsher on going after people who aren't paying at all. We need to do a better job of collections, and we need to look at the cost of new sewer hookups. It's possible that if we looked at those two things harder than we are now, harder than we ever have, find ways to collect from people who haven't paid, or take their houses, or whatever Deborah can do for us. It's possible if we looked at that we might end up with the same flat tier rate, but maybe it'll be $5 instead of $5.84, whatever. Mm-hmm. I think we need to consider looking at other sources of income for the sewer and water funds. I don't argue with you that we need the money.
But they also have to channel through the enterprise funds in order for those resources. I mean, the enterprise has definitely got to pay for itself, and it's got to pay its debt.
But there are other reasons besides the rates we pay.
I know what you're saying about collection and stealing water and that. Yeah, we need to look into that. And
some people don't even have meters.
Well, I'm encouraging everybody to give us whatever input for that, and let us know who isn't and who is, and we'll definitely
Thank you.
take care of that. Any other comment from the public? Okay.
No, I have no other speaker cards.
No more speakers. Okay. All right. So
I have a question. How many people are not paying for water in town? I never heard of that.
Me neither.
Oh, yeah, there's been,
There are people that are getting water that are not paying?
they just don't pay their bill.
Don't we shut it off?
We're supposed to.
Yeah, we shut it off. Our delinquency rate is down. We write hurt on it and everything, but our biggest problem is in apartments where they won't. We go and shut it down, and they move out and hightail it.
we have a deposit fee, though, right?
Yeah, we have a deposit of $230, and that's held there for 2 years, and then they'll ask for reimbursement, or we can apply it to their unpaid bill. So I think if any one use is the multiple housing is where we get the most delinquency.
What is the delinquency rate? We've got
it down to right about 12%.
12%.
Yeah.
Wow.
It used to run as high as 35.
That's
So-
not a default rate, though, that's delinquency.
That's delinquency, yeah.
Okay, that's
That's
late.
not default, no. You know,
Okay.
we'll go out it and then get them on a payment plan or something like that and try to make it whole, so. And it's constantly, we're there, on the average, sometimes we'll send out, on the average, about 30 shut-off notices every month. And we do the door hangers and says, if you don't pay your bill, we're going to shut your water off.
And they do it. So what's the default rate about, do you think?
Oh, I think it's right around 5%, 4% or something like that, yeah.
Which is
'Cause
probably an average of,
Yeah, right.
and that's 5% of the delinquency.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we move to the reading?
I have to say that if you considered the ordinance, it would be to read by title only and introduce. We're not adopting it at this time.
Do I have a motion?
Yeah.
He's the one who's good at it.
Okay.
Second?
I'll second.
We need to read it.
Yeah,
Read it.
this
he
is
needs
ordinance
to read
number 2015. And this is the right one, ordinance of the City of, Council of the City of San Juan Bautista, amending section 3-5-150. Is that correct, the right one?
Yes.
And 3-5-155 of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code to modify sewer and water rates. And what's the number on that?
We give it a
We-
number.
yeah, when it's
after.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West,
Yes.
Councilmember Bach,
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge,
Yes.
Mayor Lund.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
I'll go with my agenda.
Yeah, where?
There we go. Okay. Did you have a backside or a second page? Second page. Okay, we'll move on to item B. Consider an ordinance amending Chapter 11-003, Article 1, Zoning District Development Standards, Section 11-03-010, Development Standards Established, and Chapter 11-04, Article 1, Additional Development Standards, Section 11-04-010, Residential District Subdivision, or Subsection A, Single-Family Resident Lots.
Well, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the Planning Commission over the last 6 months have analyzed, reviewed, and they've kind of struggled with the various alternates of how to encourage more development of affordable housing. And we've looked at the zoning classifications. We even analyzed our inclusionary housing, and we're stymied the fact that it is not producing results. And one of the areas that they looked at is that the R1 zoning is minimum 7,000 square foot. That means that every lot that you create in the subdivision is going to be 7,000. And we explored the fact that it says some of those lots could be 6,000 or 5,000, and you could integrate it into a development or subdivision. And the smaller lots are going to create smaller square footages of housing, because we have in our zoning ordinance, the maximum building coverage is 40%. So if you have 40% of a 5,000 square foot lot, that's less than 40% of a 7,000 square foot. So the very nature is that you're going to get a smaller house. And that smaller house, in construction-wise and everything, is going to be cost less. The lot's going to cost less. So indirectly, it's a way of encouraging a very diverse amount of housing that has a diverse of economic entry levels where people can get into the homes and then start building up equity, as well as the market rate homes that are going to sell for $480,000 to $500,000. Maybe we can offer something in the $380,000 to $410,000, so that it'll help the entry level. So when they analyze the whole concept, they came up and says, when you talk about residential R1 rate, a zoning district, why don't you look at it as a 7, a 6, and a 5? And then you can analyze what's the best fits for that subdivision. They said, well, gee, we don't really want to approve a subdivision or a development or anything where they're all 5,000 square foot lots. So they analyzed that and they said, yes, if the subdivision of 20 lots or more, 78% can be 7,000, 22% can be 6,000, and 10% 5,000, or a mixture thereof, so that they have the flexibility. So the developer has that flexibility where he can design those homes, and you can have a couple large lots and a smaller lot and a couple, and now you've integrated that affordability right into the mix of the regular market rate housing, which I think is really a good objective, because then you're not putting all of the lower cost housing in one area. So it meets that objective. So they've analyzed in the matrix, and you'll see there the setbacks and everything, and then the development standards on Article 1 of the third page is that we said these are the criteria that the zoning R1 district is going to have, and residents of 7,000 square foot shall not exceed 75% of the total lots, and 6,000 will be 20%, and 5,000 would be 10%. And so now you can jockey between those three parameters and start to develop your subdivisions. Now, how about the individual lots? We went and inventoried in the hometown, and I had 59 lots that are 10,000 square feet or greater in there that are have a house, but could be split to a 5,000, two 5,000s. If it's 12,000, it could be split to two. That in itself is an encouragement for some of these large lots in towns to say, hey, let's come back and split it and then make a smaller house in town in the older part, and that's going to be more affordable. So that's built into this, is to say you've got a lot of 10, 11, and some of the lots I even found were 15 and 16,000 square feet in town. Not too many of them, but and those could be split into 2 lots or something like that. And so that's going to encourage the average property owner to say, hey, now maybe instead of a 7,000 square foot, I can create a 5 with my 7,000 square foot lot, and now I've got an extra income there. So that was the whole complex and discussion that the Planning Commission did over the last 6 months. And we've designed the development standards, the setbacks, and the development criteria, and we put it into a proper form and of an ordinance to say we're recommending the council take a look at this, and if you want, let's move forward with it. If not, you can always send it back to the Planning Commission and say, hey, you should address this, or maybe consider this, or something like that. So it's up for your decision, and then we can take input from the community.
Okay. Bring it back to you. Do we have any public comment?
No, I have no speaker cards.
Okay. Bring it back to council.
I guess I'm one of the questions I have is what does affordable housing mean? And I mean, to me that means maybe something very different from Jim, for instance. And so I'm kind of troubled by that, the terminology without any sort of definition.
I always like to view it as that I encourage younger families just married. How do they get into the entrance level to start to purchase a house and start building equity, and then as they grow and their kids get there, they can move up into the higher income levels of home. But the entry level housing is always a perplex for young families to get into. And the only way you can do that is to keep the market rate costs down to where it's affordable, where they can get into it. The answer to that, I don't know what the demarcation of what is affordable to some people and what's not.
So basically, starting couples that don't have history of, with housing and, probably smaller incomes to be able to afford something to kind of get started in their real estate
Exactly, yeah.
venture.
Now, this is not going to be the panacea that's going to solve all affordability, but it's an innovative step into saying, hey, now we have a diversity of tools that can address it in the R1 district. That's what.
Does it alleviate the requirement that talks about the 20% of, under letter E, where they talk about ratio of units and making 20% of the total units available as rentals? Is that in any way conflict with this? It doesn't affect that at all?
No, it doesn't affect that. Yeah,
Okay.
right, yeah.
And it applies in the percentage splits, the 75% or 20%.
Yeah, right.
Only applies in subdivisions of 20 or more.
Or lots, yeah, exactly.
If it's a 10 or 15 unit, then they can have more freedom to subdivide it in the different ratios.
Exactly.
Okay. I just wanted to be clear. Personally, my lot, and I think 5 of the 7 lots on my block are less than 5,000 square feet. So I mean, it's certainly within it's not out of step with what exists here today.
And I think that's what driven the Planning Commission when we started doing inventories of larger lots, and then I inventoried the vast majority of the old part of town have got a lot of little small lots, and they're very comfortable with it. And then when you go down the street, there's a mixture of design diversities of different types of architecture and everything, and that's what makes a city in itself unique.
Yeah,
they're not all the same boxes.
Yeah, I mean, I've questioned the lot coverage, some of the lot coverage numbers, but that's a separate question from this, really. And one of the frustrations I have with the way, and has nothing to do with the changes we're contemplating today, you can bypass those rental units or by paying a fee, basically, as I understand it. And I think we need to dramatically raise that fee, because right now there's not a developer that would bother with any rental units. They would just pay the fee because it's so slow or so low. So that would be my challenge back to the Planning Commission, but I think that's a separate question.
That's a separate question. But and you're right, in the housing element is how do we encourage more rental housing that meets the people that can't afford to build up a down payment to get into that entry level house.
Right.
Rental housing is that step for the.
Right now, that fee that you can bypass, that requirement is unbelievably low. I was shocked at how low it was. But this seems pretty well thought out. You guys obviously spent a fair amount of time on it. It looks pretty good to me. I don't think it's out of character at all with the town, given the size of the existing lots. It seems pretty reasonable.
I like it, and I'm glad that what I was concerned about when I was talking to one of the planning commissioners was I didn't want to see a subdivision of all 5,000 square foot lots, like Hollister made that mistake in 2 areas and called it affordable housing, but this mixture here, would this apply to Monte Vista?
No, it would not.
He's got a map.
There, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Not unless he wanted to come back and approach the Planning Commission for a tentative map revision,
Yeah, no, I'm fine with it.
Jim?
I like it because I think one of the charming things about San Juan Bautista is smaller houses next to bigger houses. I mean, some of us had big lots and just want a lot of off-street parking, but I like the idea, and I like the idea that it encourages a mix of different residents, different places, and aesthetically, I like some big, some small.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've looked inside some of the things there where we even said that the front yard setbacks have to vary in the large subdivisions where they're not all straight in a line.
Yeah.
So that they have a convolution of frontage there, so that it gives you a more pleasant view. That's part of the difference that the commission was there is we're not just approving a subdivision and building housing, we're creating a community and that's the difference they have to look at. It's a livable community.
Rick?
I don't know how big the subdivision that my home is in. It's a small one, but near Franklin Circle. But my home was built in the 60s, and the lot is 57-something hundred square feet.
There you go.
So, it's been done before in recent times. And that is one of the nice things about San Juan. You drive down 3rd Street and there's little postage stamp sized lots, and there's big homes on big lots, And when Creek Bridge built here, we wanted their subdivision to look like the town, and that's exactly what they did. All those homes in Creek Bridge look like one of the homes in San Juan, and there's a wide variety of architectural styles.
And none of this will affect the secondary unit. Secondary units are approved by state law that you can't deny a secondary unit. You can only control the size of it and the location and setbacks, and it's allowable. And I think that's another great tool for rentals, particularly for senior citizens.
So this is a first reading and
This would be the introduction and read by title only.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I move to consider an ordinance amending Chapter 11-03, Article 1, Zoning District Development Standards. Am I doing the right one?
Yeah.
11-03, Article 1, Section 11-03-010, Development Standards, and Chapter 11-04, Article 1, Section 11-04010, Residential Districts of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Yes.
Mayor Lynn?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, we'll move along to action items. On A, authorize city to receive bids for 3/4 ton public works pickup. Go to staff.
Yeah, this is, Mr. Mayor and members of council, the existing Jimmy that Joe drives is on its last legs, and we would like authorization to go out and receive bid proposals for a 3/4 ton pickup truck, and that is with a utility bed, and it's a heavier duty truck. And ultimately, we've talked in the Public Works Department where this will be the main frame of where most of the heavy hauling will be doing. The rest of the trucks we're even entertaining where we're going to go possibly with electric and smaller utility trucks for the smaller landscaping and maintenance of the buildings and stuff like that, so we can cut that cost down. This is to replace Joe's existing GMC truck that's been having some mechanical problems.
Good input?
So,
Yeah, I'm going to.
I just got a new GMC diesel. I would recommend that. That thing gets 18 miles to the gallon. It's got the thing so that it's clean. There's no pollution out of that thing. It's a beautiful truck.
yeah.
Take your foot out of it, you get 20.
Well, I don't want to take my foot out of it.
Yeah, well,
Public comment on this?
yeah, and we'll have to go out to competitive bids
But
and
the diesel
circulate it.
is,
Yeah, right.
I think is well worth it.
Or-
We have any?
Public comment?
Trish?
No,
Do
I
we have
have
any?
no speaker cards.
Okay.
You're too late.
I would second Jim's diesel recommendation. It might cost you another $1,000 up front, but it's going to last 3 times as long. It's going to pull and tow more stuff, and they're clean these days.
And it's 50 cents cheaper than gas right
That's,
now.
and, thank you for reason number 4 or 5, whatever it is.
And as Chris pointed out, you can do biodiesel, you can do whatever.
Yeah.
Down the road, yeah, my hope is that we'll go to a more sustainable fleet operation down the road. Probably not immediately, but that leaves us the option to go to a biofuel. So I spoke to Roger about that already earlier in the week, or last week. So I would strongly
Yeah, I mean, all the biofuels and stuff, they have nothing around in this area. You gotta go to Sunol for the, I think is the closest I've seen.
yeah, at this point, it's not as broadly distributed, but there's yeah. You can get it all over Santa Cruz County, but
What do you think?
Two questions. Can we use the boxes off of the old pickup of the new one?
We're asking for a 8-foot bed versus the 6-foot, and only because we have more tools implied in that. So we might even want to pull the utility bed, and then maybe we can use it someplace else.
And then the other thing, as far as the diesel goes, you have to go all the way to Hollister to get diesel. We used to have a diesel tank here,
Might get,
but it was for the fire truck.
Yeah, and the one at the corporation yard is filled up, and that's for the fire truck and everything, yeah.
So you would have to go to Hollister to fill that pickup.
well,
right?
can
Valero
we take-
doesn't have diesel?
No.
Maybe the new,
the new station plan has it.
Somebody else can have diesel soon?
Maybe we'll get Harvey to put one in.
What about entertaining an,
I believe that's was on his plan.
Yeah.
And I mean, and around town, that truck's not going to need to be filled very often.
No, yeah.
what about entertaining another tank at the yard?
Well, we could look at that and see, yeah.
Because if they're filling up one tank, they could fill up another one, because it's
yeah.
only, what, 200 gallons?
well, I know before we ran into a problem because they were using that diesel for, I guess the city had a diesel pickup or something, anyways. It was supposed to only be for the fire trucks, and the county was paying for the diesel fuel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I think the only diesel we use is in the Kubota backhoe, yeah.
That's red diesel, so.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
But I know we can look into maybe another containment vessel that could be positioned over there. Yeah.
Do you need a motion to authorize
Yeah,
this?
just a direction, because we'll go out and do the specifications, solicit the bids, and then we'll bring it back to you for approval. And
So I'll say we'll ask staff to go ahead and consider the bids for the 3/4 ton public works pickup.
Diesel.
Diesel.
put that down.
Okay, we'll move along to B, authorize a sanitary sewer connection agreement for the sewer service to 1020 Mission Vineyard Road, APN 002-550-006, George Diaz.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Um, George Diaz, the applicant, is my neighbor. And I don't know if that makes any difference, but I wanted to bring it forward before we consider this matter.
Also, he's my landlord.
There's still three of us left.
He's my slumlord.
So,
The neighbor, you have a conflict of interest.
okay, so I should recuse
And as a
myself.
tenant?
Landlord, well,
So-
he doesn't pay you, you pay him, presumably.
Yeah, but he sets.
Right, but, I think you have enough 3 votes to carry if you're
But
worried
you
about
still
it at
have
the
a
last
quorum.
minute,
How
right?
far a neighbor?
grab it.
We're all in. Jim and I
He
are.
lives on Mission Vineyard Road.
Okay.
That's the property.
Right, okay.
But he's a-
Okay, I didn't-
With where he lives in close proximity to George's.
Okay, you don't live with next to the project, you live next to the applicant. Well, I would say that's a different decision then. If you don't live next to this property, then you can
Yeah.
vote.
This is way
You
out
get-
on Mission Vineyard Road. Yeah.
No kind of economic benefit at all from, this being your neighbor, just,
Yeah, so then there's no conflict.
no, I don't believe so.
Yeah, you got a conflict.
Oh, yeah, you can't leave.
The
You're
mayor
in charge.
lives right here. Here.
Anybody else can do
You're
this.
the vice.
So that is
Yeah, this is way out.
Darn.
Out by the freeway.
I'll ask a question. Are we talking about George Diaz the
Junior.
second or the third?
George
Who
Jr.
knows?
George
second
Sr.
or Franklin.
Yeah, that's
Senior.
George Jr. And then his son is
Pumpkin.
George the third.
So they're both involved in the property.
Yes.
It shows the applicant as George Diaz Jr.
But they're both involved in the property.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of...
It's a small town.
Right. Former city councilman.
Okay. And Vice Mayor, you'll be running the meeting there. So Vice Mayor and members of the council, just to kind of give you an overview there, back in 1994-95, the Diaz's asked for annexation. And after the annexation, then they went ahead and then asked for development approval to build the first building. That was in 1995. And they received there, and it carried a condition where they had to hook up to the sewer if it's within 900 feet. And for years, we didn't have sewer within 900 feet. And recently, when the infrastructure project came along and the pellet plant pad was developed, a lift station was installed. And when we discovered that we had everything there, we ran over the electrical line to it, and we got it running and functioning. And then George decided to say now would be the time for him to connect to that thing. And at that time, his septic system, because well number 3 was not being utilized by the agricultural parcel right next door, then sewer started to back up, and his septic system started to create problems for the residents, not only of the mobile home park, but as well as for his industrial buildings. And so when we got the thing running and he decided to hook up, he agreed to run the line over there and then pay the necessary connection fees. Well, the connection fees were one where we struggled with, because the current connection fees were adopted in 2015. George's attorney came to us and says, well, when he agreed to hook up to the thing, that was in 1995, we went back and we looked at the sewer rate back in 1995, and it was $1,800 for a connection, plus $275, plus $4 or $3 per 1,000 gallons. So we calculated that, and his connection fee would be $6,920.25. And I informed him, I says, no, we can't accept that. I says, the current rate would be $5,240 per connection. And so then we looked at the rate of the in 2006, and it was $3,200, per connection. And so I negotiated, and then I just says, well, wait a minute, I think that we have to honor what the council has approved at this time, and that is the $5,240 per connection fees. So then we got in and says, do we have each mobile home as a connection? And I says, well, then I'd have to run a sewer line down there, and each one would have its own lateral. But their whole connection system of their mobile home goes into the septic tank, and then goes into the one lateral that he put to connect to the lift station. So then I says, well, then you have one industrial building that's 4,500 square feet. That's a connection. You got one 11,000 square foot building, and that's a connection. And then we says, well, the mobile home park is it 7 connections or is it 1 connection? And based on the 1995 things where they assessed it $1,800 each, we says, well, that's going to be just 1 connection, because there's 1 sewer connection that serves all 7 units. And I says, well, then you have to pay $5,240, but the monthly sewer charge is going to be the current rate for every user, and that would be 11 users, so $815 per month sewer connection fee, and the $15,720. Now, that was a discussion and an analysis, and it's strictly up to the commission and of how you feel. Is that equitable? Is that fair? And it should be 11 connection fees.
Okay, do we have any speaker cards on this?
Yes, Jillian Cosio?
They're getting
money, so
now we're getting
we'll help you guys out. I'm not Donald Trump, so but I'm gonna
we're getting the big guns
follow
now.
up what Roger was talking about. I worked on that project in 1994, 1995. So yeah, he's got 7 trailers, local units, and he's got 4 businesses in one building. He's got 3 in the other. So, and you're talking about one hookup for the trailers, you know, they're just a line going down the middle there and they all tie in. To me, that's 7 hookups. That's not one hookup. And it goes to the septic tank. Okay, and then at one time, he doesn't have it now, we had 3 businesses in one, 3 separate businesses, and 4 in the other. So to me, that's 7 businesses. They might not be separate buildings, but it's separate businesses. In the meantime, he's cut it all up. But even so, that was the original plan. You know, to have 7 and 7, so that's 14. Okay, and then back then, in 95, if I remember correctly, it was going to be about 40,000 to hook up. Of course, people refused. Well, it's not our problem. That's what the city wanted at that time. So somehow or another, he kept kicking around and got down to 30-some thousand. So, and now I see it, like Roger mentioned, it's $15,720. So we're kind of going the wrong way. Yeah. But I paid for my home 36 years ago versus what this guy's paying. I should have paid like $50. Yeah? But you can't work it that way. You know, I mean, he should have paid when it was brought up in 95. But this guy knows how to work the system. Why not? He can get away with it. And I'd like to know is, has he paid to hook up to the sewer line? Huh?
No, he has not paid anything.
See? I wasn't allowed to move into my house in 1979 until I paid all my permit fees. That included the sewer. Back it was the night before Christmas. I didn't even have electricity. My neighbor came over with some candles and a cake, which was nicer because I didn't have any power because my permit wasn't final until after Christmas. I wasn't supposed to move in, but what the heck, it's Christmas. Kicked around the night before. But anyway, like in this guy's setup, he never should have been allowed to hook up. Okay, there was talk, the nitrates were getting into the system, and blah, blah, blah. Well, see, he had a sewer problem, but that's not the city's problem. You know, it's paying, that's why you pump it 3-4 times a month. I'd scream too, because that's not cheap. Okay, so the city kind of helps him out. What do you do for the city? He's not paying for the electricity. The first month it was 70 kVA. I don't know what the rate is for that well, because it's a service for a well, and that's what he's using. But who's paying for that? People sitting here. Who subsidize this guy? He's not paying for it. I'd like somebody to pay mine every other month. Huh? See, things like that, and I'm saying, this guy's getting away clean. That's nothing. 14 units? I mean, you got 7 mobile homes, and I consider those residents, like a regular residence, right? Huh? But according to the city manager, it's 1 unit. No. You know, I don't feel it's right. You know, as far as contaminating the water, I doubt it. There's a well 300 yards down the road. I forget the guy's name put it in. And then, is he going to continue to pay after we do get the pellet softener in? No. What percentage? 3 hookups? 14. What is it? And he plays a game. He's got like 4 businesses there. I don't even know if he has a business license for what is it? Spice, no spice, yes, spices. They're almost companies, right? But that's beside the point. The thing of it is, if this guy can get away with it, he's going to. Because when I did work for him, he got away with some stuff. Only because my boss wouldn't push it. So that's been happening for a long time. And I can go on and stuff like that, but I'm not going to. Because some of these people know that. There's no reason to dig up old wounds. But this issue here, 15-7, Because this guy, he's making money on these things. Okay? These are places that he's leasing these places out. He's got businesses out there. So to him, it's, hey, great. You might even pay a couple of dollars more. But he's still ahead of the game. Because like I said, you pump out a septic tank, plus your money. You do that 3-4 times a month, you're going to scream. And of course, there was, I read the letter back in '95, where it said if and when the sewer system got hooked up and the water system, that he would hook up to. Well, we did that quite in advance. And I agree it was going to be done, but we didn't have to do it now. Because he would still be paying those septic tank fees. But we helped him out. And now we're helping him again. 15.7 is nothing for 14 years. Think about it. Thanks, guys.
Okay, any other speaker
Yes,
cards?
Jolene Posio?
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that the city is planning on charging for at least 11 units for the monthly sewer fee. I'm not sure that he pays for 11 units for a water fee because I think he's only got one water meter. So he's making out on that one. As far as I know, that's the kind of thing that will actually be helped by eliminating these tier rates, because he'll be,
paying a higher rate.
he'll
Yes.
be paying for all of the water that he gets, but he should be paying for 11 water hookups, 11 sewer hookups. I can actually kind of understand why it's only 3 sewer connections, because there are other cases where we've only charged for 1 sewer hookup fee for several businesses or units. I don't think every downtown business that has a residence above and a business below pays for more than 1 hookup. But it should be 11 water hookups monthly, 11 sewer hookups monthly, and he should have to pay back for I think it's more than 3 months that he's been hooked up. For however many months he's been hooked up, he should have to pay all of that back. And if he will not pay it all at once, the way that everybody else has to, who hooks up to our sewer and water system, he was already hooked up to the water, but to our sewer system, he should be disconnected. There's no doubt that he should be disconnected if he will not pay. He should have already been disconnected for non-payment from the day that he was hooked up. And that goes back to what I was talking about before of some people getting better deals than others because they cry and say, oh, I can't afford it. Well, you know what? He's renting out 11 units. I think he can afford it.
Any other speaker cards? Okay, we'll bring it back to the council. What would you like to do with this?
Roger, what was the sewer connection in 1995?
In industrial and commercial buildings, it was $1,800 plus $275 plus $3 per 1,000 gallons. Or no, excuse me, $3 per 100 square feet. So you took, I was thinking of the water rates, no, the sewer rates. So you had a 11,000 square foot building, you divide it by 100, and then you get 106 units times 3, and then it came up to $320 plus $275 plus $1,800. So that would be the connection fee, roughly about $2,500, something like that.
For that one building?
For the one building, yeah.
So if sewer had been available to him in 1995, he would have paid $2,500 for the
For the big building, and 2210 for the small building.
And then
And then on the residential rate was it was according to fixture units, you know. It was an oddball thing. If you had less than 20 fixture units, and you had to, and fixture units are not a toilet and a sink.
Right.
A fixture unit, like a toilet, is 3 fixture units.
Oh.
A lavvy is 1.5 fixture units. So you've got to calculate and go in and find out how many plumbing fixtures and everything. The average house runs about 18 to 20 fixture units. Apartment runs about 10 to 11 fixture units. And then you take that and then multiply that times the formula, and then the residential houses comes out with a fixed rate, and it comes out to about $680 per household at that time in 1994.
And the current sewer connection fee,
Is $5,240.
regardless of industrial or,
Yeah.
I thought
Right.
industrial was on a different
Well,
scale.
Yeah, industrial, where we make the change in industrial, the connection fee is the same, but the strength of the effluent is that if it's regular normal, it's 7761. If it's medium strength, then it goes up to,
Got it.
you know, a
But
higher
the
rate.
connection itself is the
Yeah.
same cost.
And then the high strength is a different rate. And that's based on the cost to treat the higher strength and at the sewer treatment plant.
Now, you don't have any way of measuring the effluent, right? You just estimate the
Based on the
category based
operation.
on the type of usage in the building?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, right. Now, we can go, and then we have sample ports that we can go in and take samples to, and every once in a while we'll do that on an industrial building. Where we suspect that they're doing some chemical stuff, we'll take samples and then we'll run it into the lab. And if it doesn't meet the threshold of normal effluent, then we'll put them in a higher rate because of the strength of the effluent.
see, Mission Farms has a meter because
They
they
do,
have
huh?
their own sewer line, or they did. And that's how we were basing what we were collecting from them on the sewers, the charges. I just looked at this, right? If the sewer had been available in 1995, he would have paid a total of $9,470 in sewer connection fees. You take the chance that, okay, he went ahead and just to give you a little background on it, he went ahead and built those properties thinking that he would be able to hook up to John Kurisaki's sewer line, which comes out of Mission Farm and runs up to the Alameda. Mr. Kurisaki, for what reason, I don't know, declined. He didn't want him hooked up to that. So then he was sitting out there with the septic tanks. And, I mean,
And I think what Tony's describing is correct and everything. And you add one more complexity is if Kurosaki had a lift station and a force main, but for George to get into that, he would have to put a lift station and a force main because you have to go down underneath a creek to get it in there, and it couldn't be gravity flow. So it added a complexity that ultimately he had to put his own lift station in as a force main to get it into John Kurisaki's line. So
When were the 2 buildings built and when were the mobile homes put in?
the mobile homes were there for, God, years. I
prior to
remember
'95,
there was a
the,
junkyard.
But
and,
they're not contemplated here in
this.
they're not described in this agreement that was signed
No,
with the city.
Yeah.
So did they exist at the time this agreement was made?
No, yeah. The last one was built in 201, the 4,500 square foot, and then the 11,000 was built in what?
95, I think. or
98, 98, yeah.
But
But what about the
Mobile Home Park was there.
So that existed.
That was an existing,
prior to
and at that
94.
time it was in the county.
Okay, but, and is this, the highlighted parcel is the entire parcel together, including all?
That is correct.
Okay. So that, those were existing at the time, and they were on an existing septic.
Septic tank.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understand clearly what was there.
My concern, this kind of goes back to what we talked about before. If you're on a fixed income, I think we, and the rates are high, we need to make some allowances. We need to take care of people like that. This is a commercial business.
Yeah.
You just, if you have a cost, you pass it on. I don't see why we would discount this at all, because the rates go up out there. I mean, the only thing is if somebody in the trailer park had a unique situation where they weren't on fixed income, I can understand looking at that. But those commercial buildings, you charge with what the traffic will bear. And if he's getting, and I don't know, I really don't know, but my assumption is if he's paying less than the market, he's still charging market.
The one thing that I look at is he's had 17 years of basically pumping on a septic tank. That's, but really that's not our problem.
No,
I mean,
it has nothing to
he
do
wanted
with
to
us.
build a building there. He knew what the situation was, and I have to agree with you. I'm sorry, I just can't see cutting him any slack.
Yeah, I mean, of an individual, and again, maybe somebody living in this trailer park has a unique thing, and that's, if you're fixed income, we are raising our rates because we, as a board, did not do it years ago. And now that means a punishment or a burden for people in the next 20 years. If they have a fixed income and they have a problem, I think we ought to do something about that. But if it's a commercial operation where you charge rent and you can change your rent readily.
Interestingly enough, by doing away with the tiers, his water's going to be cheaper. Because I'm sure he was using over 10,000 gallons with 11 to 14 units.
Yeah.
So
But I just don't want to see, I don't think the city owes a financial break to someone who's running a commercial business.
Couple of questions. How would we handle, how would the connection fees relate to a strip mall like the Windmill Center? Are those, how are those sewer and water connections, how would that ordinarily be handled?
I don't know how the windmill was done and everything, but normally when you do a strip center, you don't know how many incubations of things there are and everything, and so you try to project it on what you anticipate and then charge them just one connection fee, and it's negotiated out because you don't know in a strip mall how they're going to partition how many tenants are in there, so it's an estimate.
And so
And
he's
then-
not able to, in theory, then he's not able to charge the tenants a separate, anyone in that complex, separate water, and he's having to include that in his
rental, yeah. He has a master water meter, he has to subparcel that out, and
But
the
that's
only
on
way
him.
he can do that is put it in the rental rate that he charges them every month.
And the mobile home park, I guess the same question for the mobile home park. Ordinarily, if we were putting a mobile home park in, would those be individual connections, or would they be a property connection?
A new mobile home would be individual connections,
Okay.
but this mobile home park was many years ago, and
Well, I understand that, and there's nothing in here in the documentation from that time period that talks anything about the mobile home park as being a single connection, multiple connections. There's nothing in here about, locking the rates, like we have a development agreement. We recently passed a development agreement that would set those standards. I mean, this is, I think, an example of fairly loose, unfortunately, a fairly loosely written agreement. It doesn't anticipate the second building on the parcel, industrial building on the parcel. It refers only to the single building as a connection. Yeah, I'd have to agree with, I can see the two buildings being individual connections, but I don't see it, and the water, I can see it as an individual potentially, but not the sewer with the mobile home park. There's nothing in here that indicates that was the expectation. So I think you should be paying the individual for those.
It does mention the mobile home parks in there.
It mentions that there's a mobile home park, but
Yeah,
it doesn't
right.
say anything about having one connection, two connection. There is a reference to the water, having a water connection for the parcel. That's specifically referred to here, but there's nothing about, ganging up the sewer. So I'd agree with, I think I agree with Tony and Jim. My inclination would be to charge them the connection fees for each of the units, each of the mobile homes, plus the two industrial buildings at the current rate.
I would agree.
And the other thing, Roger, and I'm pretty sure you, as far as maintaining the lift station, it's in, is that this, no, not section 1.
Yeah. Currently on the lift stations, the Langcourt as well as the Awani, the city incorporates and pays the electricity to operate that, and we pay for that out of our sewer rates. And I had to treat this lift station similar to what we do for the others. However, we have been working on an ordinance that is going to convert the Awani and the Langcourt, and this one here is on a per user fee to pay for the O&M, and that's the operation and the maintenance. And we've got data for electricity, what it costs, and then the monthly maintenance of checking the engines and stuff like that. And then I even depreciated the engines because the pumps have to be changed about every 6 or 7 years. So I anticipate that life at an 8-year life, $3,000, $4,000, $7,000 a pump. So I've got data there, and I was going to bring it to the council where that's going to affect the Awani and the Langcourt, and I know it's going to be controversial because they don't pay for it now.
Well, the thing, what I'm getting at here is I want to, no matter what we agree to as far as the sewer connection fees and everything, he's going to get charged a standard rate for 11 connections or
It's,
however many it
I
amounted
count
to.
9, but
Or 9, whatever. But then he has to pay for the electricity and everything to run that lift station because he's the only one using it right now. When the pellet plant goes on board, then we'll figure out,
Share it.
okay, we'll fair share it. And if that other, the guy across the Mission Vineyard there, if he wants to hook in, he's going to have to pay. But I want to make real clear that the city is not paying for these lift stations. We got burned on Langcourt, and their claim was that we never billed them for it, so they don't have to pay us. And Awani was basically the same mistake.
Yeah, and I think I've looked at different jurisdictions, and if a part of the city is subject to a lift station, it's the base rate plus a surcharge for that. And then it's maybe $5 extra a month for that ability.
Whatever the
That's the way they
PG&E
handle
bill
it.
is out there now, whatever the PG&E bill is out there now, he should be paying.
Yeah.
Because he's the only one using it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're in
Rick?
charge. You let this thing get out of hand.
I have a question. He's been connected for what, 3 months now?
About 3 months, yeah.
Has there been any effect on well number 3 nitrates?
We've monitored it, and it's dropped from 86 down to about 74 since we've been running it, you know. So,
Do you expect it to go much lower than that?
well, I've got an agreement with Dale Koch. Instead of him using his, he uses ours. And so I'm trying to encourage as much as I can so that I can see if I can purge and cleanse that, that plume down there. And that plume has been there for a lot of years, you know, and so it's going to take a little bit of time.
Sounds like we may not ever be able to recover that then, with that far to go.
I mean, that's why we're doing the deeper well. The deeper well gets away from that plume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And compounded with that is Christopher Ranch's farm labor camp is upstream from that across on Mission Vineyard, and that probably participates in a little bit of the effluent. So
Yeah.
we can't just say
That's
it's
right.
the Diaz Mobile Home Park.
Okay, so what we need to do is review the agreement and supporting documents and approve the agreement or not.
Sounds like we're not comfortable with it. What do you think? Do you have any?
So current rates would be what, 5,000 something
Yeah.
per? Yeah.
I would say this, at one time he agreed that he owed in the neighborhood is $36,000 for his connections. If we could get close to something like that, but as it's stated, we're basically giving it away, and I just can't go along with it.
See, 9 connections would be about $47,600 bucks, something like that.
Yeah.
Do we need to refer this back to you for
Yeah.
recalculation of this?
If you're not comfortable with
then
the
come
agreement
back to
there,
us.
is you remit it back to the staff and have them meet, and we crank out another agreement.
But in the meantime, you should be billing him for the use of it, whether he's paid for it or not, you know.
If
So
that's
he-
the direction there, you know, that is why we negotiate the connection fee, the monthly user rate should be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, we're headed that way with all the lift stations in town. We may as
Yeah.
well start this one now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I mean,
are
just
we-
the normal sewer
He means the
You know,
sewer rates
sewer
per
rate
user.
that you pay on your
Right,
house.
That he's
Right.
not.
He hasn't paid that for 3 months on all those
Well,
units.
I think the agreement is to backdate this whenever it's hammered out, right?
It is, but why wait?
It may take, who knows how long it's gonna take, but in the
To
meantime,
negotiate this.
he should
Oh,
be
you're
paying
talking
this.
about the sewer charges?
Yeah, just the
Right.
monthly rate.
Yeah, the monthly
He's
charge.
not paying
Yeah.
monthly sewer charges, apparently.
Oh, he's not being billed yet? For
No, he
usage?
hasn't been billed for the 3 months till
Yeah.
we brought this back to the council.
Okay.
Well, the rates are going to go by our rate schedule, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
It's gonna
What we're
be,
talking about is the connection fees.
correct.
No, no.
It's two separate
but,
things.
all
Yeah.
I'm saying, we want Roger to renegotiate this thing, but in the meantime, he should be paying, just like you and I are paying our sewer,
The monthly bill.
the monthly bill.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And that's under section 4 of your agreement on the second page. You know, Section 4,
Second page?
second page of the agreement.
Oh, the agreement.
Customer will repay the city the monthly sewer year charge for each discharge unit as follows.
Okay. So,
So we just have to bill them,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
I think are we there?
Yeah, I think we're there.
So then we refer this back to staff
Yeah.
with direction.
Yeah.
that.
We don't need a vote on
Is
that.
that all you
do we?
need?
Because,
Okay. I will so relate that, yeah.
okay.
Someone had asked Robert to come in.
Come back in.
I don't leave him out there.
Yeah, leave him out there. We get along a lot better with that.
He was moving the meeting along pretty fast. I don't know. I kind of like that.
So who's going to tell him his rent's going up?
A bunch.
Does
That'll teach him to
does he
recruit
live out
him.
there in the mobile home?
I don't know. I have no
Yeah,
idea.
he does.
Does he?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Who's going to go get him? Anybody?
Somebody,
I think
yeah.
Jolene
Somebody
will.
that,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
My granddaughter said I should smile more, and you're making it.
Yeah, you smile when I fall down.
Tell her you do, but you're never on camera when you do.
Okay.
Really?
My granddaughter told me I fell asleep.
I wasn't sure if we were done or not.
Well, we referred it back to Roger to
You mean we're not?
Renegotiate.
hammer out some new numbers, and we're directing that he pay the electrical bill for the lift station since he's the only user, and that we begin billing him for this monthly sewer rates in addition to water.
So
Because all we're
Yeah.
determining is connection.
You can always
fees.
pass it on.
Kick the can?
Jim's favorite.
Kick the tenant.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
6C. That puts you to 6C.
Thank you. 6C, authorized water service connection and irrevocable offer to annexation agreement APN 012-160-010 for Cheryl Vosper.
Vosberg, yes. Just to, Mr. Mayor and members of the council, to kind of reflect your, recall your memory. About 2 years ago, I brought a policy to you where outside rates would, if they wanted to hook up, services there, that we would really encourage them is to sign an agreement and make an irrevocable offer that when they have the opportunity and they're adjacent to city limits, that they would come in. And this agreement that I've proposed and the offer of a outside sewer reflects that policy that the city adopted. Okay. The city of San Juan Bautista is in the water business and it encourages us to sell water. Mrs. Vosberg bought a piece of property. It's within Zone 6. It's within our sphere of influence. So we can serve it, but we do not have a water main out there. And part of this agreement is that we will grant her service if she signs an irrevocable offer to annex and she extends this water line to her house at her expense. And so this is the agreement. She signed the petition. She's agreeable to those and everything. And Mrs. Vosberg is in the audience, and she's certainly welcome to come forward and everything. And then coupled with that is the extension there. It goes right in front of the seafood crab thing, and we're going to correspond with them to see if, because they're going to benefit from this, and then they can contribute to that same water line that's extended out to her house. And that would be for domestic use on her piece of property. She's going to build a home there, and then we'll have a fire hydrant out there for fire protection.
How big a line are you talking about?
7 3/4 acre.
It'll probably be an 8-inch line.
No, the
8-inch
line.
line?
8-inch line. Oh, the line, sorry.
Yeah.
What about
Yes.
this property?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Vosberg.
Cheryl?
And I'm here with my family. We purchased the property about a year ago. We've gone through the usage permit, and they've approved that. It's now, our building plans are with the county, and hopefully those will be approved in about a week. And so we're hoping that you'll grant this, and we'll have city water.
Question.
Whereabouts are you? Are you on the same side of the road as the fish plant? Same, and then how far past there?
The next piece.
Oh, just one lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're
Is that where
adjacent to
where
it,
the
or one water
the
reserve
porta potty
space?
is? Is that on
Yeah,
your,
that-
Right over there.
the
Yeah,
green one
that's
at the
on
very back?
south side of the property. The trail
Uh-huh.
is
There's a lot
on,
with the single oak tree.
Okay, I didn't know. I was looking for a house out there, so I just kind of happened to notice that, but I was going past that point last night.
we're
Okay.
sandwiched in between the trail and Old Salinas Road. And so on the north side of the road is where the Zen center is going to be. And we purchased the 7 3/4 acres, and we're planning on building 2 houses, one for my daughter and her family, her husband and child, and the other one is for my husband and I. It's a ADU. And so that's all been approved by the county. And
Great.
So, you're past, there's a, when you go past the seafood place, there's what appears to be, somebody's laid out a little industrial park there.
yeah,
And then you're on the other side of that,
yes. We are east of, or west of that.
rest of it, yeah.
Yeah, we're west of that.
That's a 7.75 acre parcel of land.
Yeah. Well, the thing what I was getting at is she gets, if you get into this and then if the seafood plant and or whatever that possibly happens in there, they would have to reimburse you
That is correct.
a
Is
fair
that part of the
share
arrangement?
Yeah.
for the water line.
Yeah.
So,
That would be wonderful.
but in the meantime,
And I don't know if they're interested. I know that Roger has had some people express interest in having city water. And if they're interested in that, then we're more than willing to talk with them about sharing that service.
That'd be great.
the only thing they have to be aware of is they have to be in zone 6. Like, see, the yoga place could not hook into your line because they're not in the zone 6.
6, yeah.
We would make sure of that.
They're on the other side of the road, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really glad we're in zone 6.
Yeah.
You're in the zone.
Otherwise,
Yeah, the seafood and piece there and the Vosbergs are in Zone 6.
And so we're talking about an 8-inch line.
Yes.
Okay.
So that would be sufficient if the others hook in,
For
they would still get
multi-dwelling?
enough water?
Yeah.
Okay.
that'd be
And
as
for
big as
fire
any water line
protection
you had.
and whatever else.
What's
No,
that?
we got a 12-inch line going down 4th Street, but
Oh,
other than that,
We're only talking one unit, too.
And as far as production, we have the capabilities.
Yeah.
I think the only question that we have is our quality, and I think we're going to be addressing that.
Yeah.
you are aware of the quality of our water
We are.
at the present time.
Yes.
Because I don't want you in here next month complaining about it.
No, we know.
It doesn't have the high nitrates, but it's hard water.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Trish, do we have any speaker cards or any public comment?
No,
Okay.
I'll make sure I'll put in the speaker card, but it's not really necessary.
All right, I'm gonna,
When you go to,
Go back to
when you go
council.
to Sears and have them check your water for your water softener, the
Okay.
guy will tell you right away, you're from San Juan.
Okay.
or the
And
bread.
I think you put this stuff in here.
Any more
Right,
council?
good.
No.
Okay, so, get a motion?
Make 'em-
Speaker card.
Oh, man. If you can't get it ahead of time, forget it.
We're gonna close it
First
next
of all, I
time.
want to congratulate him on moving, and I want to help him out a little bit. Couple of months ago, I talked about this in front of the city council. We need our one-dig policy, and you need to get some help on the cost of digging that ditch. People who can help you would be PG&E, Charter Communications, PacBell. So when you dig a hole in the street, you need to get everybody who wants to put something in that to contribute and do it at one time, so we're not digging up streets. Most cities in this area, well, in the Bay Area, have a one-dig policy. So we're trying to help you, trying to get people like PG&E to chip in a little bit. charter, all that, okay? Thank you.
Frankly, it's not a bad fund.
I was like, oh.
That's no fun.
Now, the yoga center may not be able to contribute, or may not be able to draw water, but they may be interested in bringing some of those other services out there too, so.
Okay. And so is that something that we do through you, Roger?
Yeah, we will try to coordinate that with all the property owners there and then let them know. Half the problem is letting them know what's happening, and then they can start to collaborate and then get together with you guys.
Okay.
All right.
Need a
So one
motion?
more, right?
We had one more?
Yes, Julie wants to speak?
Yeah. I just want to tell Roger that had he been here making this kind of agreement, when certain other properties were being brought into the city, we would not be having the problem that we're having now. And I just want to let you know, Roger, that we do appreciate you writing up a good agreement. This sounds like a good agreement for this property. I only have one question, and that's regarding the LAFCO issue. Is there any hopscotching involved? Because I know LAFCO does not like to hopscotch properties.
No,
We're not.
We talked with Bob Brakeman, and this has to go to LAFCO, and we have the key to it. It's in our sphere of influence, and it's in Zone 6, and they will bring it to LAFCO and get their blessing and everything. And it starts with here, where I couldn't bring it to LAFCO until the legislative body says, yes, we will serve that. So this is the first step.
And we're not talking about annexing them. We have an irrevocable agreement to do so when the property becomes eligible, which is what you're talking about.
I read that, but you still should know that.
No, we know, you can't.
You wouldn't be allowed to do it if LAFCO turns you down, so, so hopefully it'll all come together that way, and it sounds like a great agreement, and I wish Roger was here in I wish he was always here.
And I think, and I think that was under Section 5. The customer agrees to submit an application to LAFCO and necessary processing fees required by LAFCO.
Any more questions from the council?
No, sir.
All right, can I have a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the petition for outside water service to 1000 San Juan Grade Road.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote?
And I would say that it's subject to LAFCO's approval.
Oh, yes, okay. Subject to LAFCO's.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bob?
Yes.
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Member Ed?
Yes.
Mayor Henning.
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
He's got it.
Thank you.
Just like Judge Judy, huh?
Yeah.
We'll be at the meeting if you guys want to get
Different judge.
Now we're talking. It's inappropriate.
Okay, moving along to D. Consider change to Strategic Planning Committee membership. Staff?
That was John Freeman, wasn't it? Yeah.
Well, we've got nothing right now, so we haven't, we're considering some people, but we haven't got anyone who's agreed to do it yet.
John, this was Connie Schubert, adding her as a member of the committee.
I'm sorry, I thought she was already on.
She hasn't.
We respectfully wish to add Connie Schubert onto the planning committee. Thank you, Chris.
Sure. We have notes, so.
Yeah, okay.
But you need some more people.
What?
You need more, is that what
Oh, we're always looking for a few more.
People that.
You want to join us, John?
No. Okay. I don't want to. I don't get involved in anything in San Juan. I just. Especially when you're the boss.
Rare.
Okay, so
Public.
the one thing I wanted to ask is, Connie's on a leave right now.
Yes.
How do we want to handle this?
Do you want to table it?
Are we disappointed to
I
that?
actually wouldn't mind tabling it until we find
I
out the
think
duration.
She should be present to
Yeah.
comment.
Yeah, I'd like to have her present to comment. I'd hate to vote her into something she didn't want.
Well, that's the way we do it.
Because I know how she would, because I know how she would feel. Yeah,
It's a volunteer position.
I agree.
okay.
Did
But
she,
I still would like to have her here for comment on that. So we're gonna, we'll move that to the next council meeting. And if we don't, actually, I'd like to move it to 3 weeks. If we hear back from her, if she's gonna be able to attend the next council meeting, or otherwise we'll just table it one more time.
3 weeks.
If we do not hear a response from her back in 3 weeks, can we postpone it to the following or till we have a response?
Okay, certainly.
or should
So we can take
should
one
be
line
here
off
at the
the-
meeting?
Yeah. She's on a leave of absence right now.
Yeah, no, it's only for a month.
Unless she
so-
chooses to extend it.
I don't know
Yeah.
when it
Unless she
started.
extends it. If she extends the leave of absence, then,
All right.
Okay.
then we're still on track. So that will bring us to item E, authorize city to receive engineering proposals for site grading work at pellet plant well number 3 site.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, the emphasis of the rate study, and as it's going forward, we would certainly entertain to give us authorization to receive engineering proposals for the compaction and grading to get the site ready, so that when we get ready to do the concrete slab and the underground electrical, plumbing and stuff like that, that the site is ready to receive the building and the infrastructure.
Okay.
And that this is just the first initial step to get the thing prepped, so that when we do get the bids from the bond that's coming in, that then we can act appropriately and start to implement the construction of it.
Okay, do we have anything from,
If I can just comment, because I think it's germane to the pellet plant. We received some communication today from the State Water Resources Control Board, and we were petitioning that they assigned us all these fees, and we have fees going back to 10 years that they wanted us to pay, and they initially wanted us to send the money over to Morro Bay, and so we're petitioning that San Juan Bautista qualifies as a small city with a hardship, and they made the finding today that you do qualify, so they asked another set of questions about qualifying the pellet plant, but we're one stage forward to having our money stay here rather than go to somewhere else to pay for this pellet plant.
should we send her some water?
Some hard water, I think.
Right.
Doesn't Granite Rock guarantee their work? Or-
Yeah.
We don't guarantee anything.
They'll say anything.
And just to kind of back up what Deborah says, is this is nothing more than showing our sincerity to say, let's move forward to achieve those milestones and those steps to the regional board, and so.
Do we have any comment from public?
No speaker card?
We're going to bring it back to council. I'll start to my left.
Looks good to me.
It's fine with me. Let's get going on this thing.
Just to
Ditto.
direct the
This
staff.
is like huge for me on this part, because this is the one thing that I really have been pushing ever since I got here, and I think Roger's probably tired of me bugging him about it. I've been in his ears since day one. He's probably hoping that kid to just go away, but he's not. And I think this is great, and I can't wait to see the groundbreaking. This is actually a groundbreaking. This is great. So I'm definitely 100% for it. So
Do we need to vote?
So moved.
Second?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bach?
Yes?
Councilmember Martirana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Yes.
Mayor Lam?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
All right, moving along to F. Consider reimbursement agreement for Dadwell property, Fueling Station 404-408, the Youth Commission, or I'm sorry, the Alameda.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission, this is just a follow-up of the ARCO station as it was approved. And as you recall, the deacceleration right turn lane was an issue. And in the lawsuit of the SL there is they said that they wanted that committed to be constructed before the service station, convenience store, and restaurant opens. And so that, and then Mr. Dadwell in the condition had said that he would step up and pledge $200,000 to achieve that milestone. And so now we wanted to develop an agreement that would fix that. We've done some preliminary engineering analysis, and I think Mr. Dadwell's in the audience and everything. And ultimately, the condition says is that the Dadwell property and the service station will pay its fair share. And the $200,000, whether that's going to be the fair share or not, depends on other developments that are coming down the line and how we were going to assess that. And we know that down on the San Juan Hollister Road, we have two proposed developments that are going to matriculate over this next year and a half, and that they will be paying their fair share. So Mr. Dadwell's agreeing to pledge the $200,000. We done a preliminary engineering estimate, and I came up with $241,000. But then I had to add $15,000 for permits and encroachment permit and plan checking from the state, and then I just added a 10% contingency, so I had about a $280,000 cost that I felt. To our surprise, they took my engineering estimate and they went out to Monterey Peninsula and they came in at $240, and so we were right on. And so I think it's going to be somewhere right at the $240, that $245 category. Mr. Dadwell's in the audience, and he's saying is, who's going to pick up if he gets going and starts his building and everything's resolved? Who will pick up the difference between the $200 that he's pledged and the $240 that it's going to cost? And if these other projects get going earlier, then that money will be available. If those projects delay, then the city has accumulated $39,000 of impact fees for road work. And so we can pledge that money, and then when these other projects come forward and we start to balance out the fair share, the city would get back our share, and then Mr. Dadwell would get back any money that over and above that his fair share that he's upfronted to get this project going. So that's
so to that end, on this reimbursement agreement that you have in front of you, paragraph G in the recital should be changed so it's 240 instead of 400. And then we need to tweak in the agreement section, paragraph number 2, because right now it reads that Mr. Dadwell is going to get everything that anybody contributes in the future is going to go back to him to reimburse him for his 200, and we want to put the city in line to also get their 40,000 reimbursed, and to do that maybe first before Mr. Dadwell is reimbursed. So we need to tweak paragraph number 2 just to say first that the city is going to be reimbursed for its contribution, and then what remains after that will go to Mr. Dadwell. Does that make sense?
Can that be broken down into a percentage? Supposing a $40,000, say we paid 25%, and he paid 75%, and say $40,000 came in, would he get 30 and we could get 10?
I was really looking to have the city get reimbursed first, and then this agreement would last over a term of 10 years. So during that time period, anyone that comes forward after that would pay back Mr. Dadwell. And I just from experience, sometimes these agreements linger and they never get paid back, or it's easier to do your keeping for the city and get the money to the city up front, because you might never see it again if you wait to get it at the same time or at a percentage rate.
There's
So
no,
you-
there's no term on this, that you've just
Yeah,
said 10
we're-
years?
And that's the other thing we're going to add, that this reimbursement agreement is for a period of 10 years.
And-
That's normally what we do.
And then what happens?
Mhm.
If there's no other
If
contribution?
nothing happens within 10 years, then
We all eat what
eat
we've
what the-
contributed, okay.
yeah.
But we're not on the hook to pay back Mr.
No,
Dadwell some portion?
He can
No.
come back at the expiration date and ask the city to continue the agreement. That's what
Okay.
you'll usually
Yeah.
see.
Well, the reason I kind of brought that up is that, you know, if developments are going to be coming, you know, does this look like something that will be paid off? Say we gain more money over a period of time? And also the other question I have is if the county has projects that is
Oh, yeah,
using
yeah,
that same
that's-
thing, will the reimbursement be
Yeah.
coming up to the
That's-
table?
That's part of a program that I have here. We've identified 2 projects that are pending on the San Juan Hollister Road, plus Dadwell's. We're also identified all projects up the San Juan Canyon that's in the county that would be subject to transportation fee, you know, what we call a traffic mitigation impact fee. And that will come back to support this right turn lane.
Now, will that also, say like down Mission Vineyard where like Kathleen Manning's is, will that pertain to any of that too?
Kathleen Manning?
Or that's,
Kathleen Manning?
yeah,
Whoever,
the property?
but Mission Vineyard Road, any
by Wilma
development where
Rashid.
we've looked at
I don't
those
think she owns any
annexations.
property on Mission Vineyard Road.
It doesn't matter who.
Same
it's-
one.
Yeah, no,
The
but
city
whoever,
properties there.
whoever is going to develop there will be subject to the
Traffic mitigation.
TMIF fee, which
Right.
is the Transportation Mitigation Impact Fee. County has adopted it, City of Hollister has adopted it, and San Juan has adopted it.
But if we've done the plan, I'm kind of like thinking we own the rights to it.
Yeah, no.
And we can,
And I've already talked to the county about, we will do a sphere of influence. Any development in that benefit area will be paying that TMIF fee into it.
I was just looking to see if it was feasible where he may be making back more money and we would be making more money than what we put into the project.
No, we
No, it goes
can't
back
do
to the
that.
fair share. In this agreement,
Okay.
there's a fair share. And the fair share is based on the traffic utilization of that project,
Okay.
okay?
So it sounds like it's going back to you for revision.
Well,
We'd
we've
like
made
the
notes.
council to pass it tonight with those changes to the agreement, because what we'd like to do is then enter this into judicial notice in the lawsuit that's going forward. That
that's
should
what-
be
yeah.
argued in September, the hearing
Yeah,
should
and
be up.
that's
in
the reason we're bringing it there is that
Okay.
we want to get it back in front of the judge to show that this was one of the impending hassles that the lawyers in San Francisco said, oh, we were not going to do anything until you show us this agreement.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So we're going to need to, I think we need to go through it again then in more detail. Can you just run
well, do
down
you
what those
you want to
changes
finish
are?
with public comment? Is there any
Sure,
public comment?
sure.
No, I have no speaker cards on.
Okay, so I'm going to close
Yeah.
public comment so we can bring back to the council to finish.
And we'll run through
Yeah, can we
the
just
changes in the
start at the
amendment.
top?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
And then the first page would be...
The first change would be in paragraph G, just that the estimated cost is $240,000. And I don't know that we have a fair share estimate at this point, do we? Yeah, Roger?
No.
Okay. We might just strike that if it ends up that we don't have that amount. And then the other addition is paragraph 2. I'll tweak the language, but it needs to say something that the city shall be reimbursed first for its contributions, and then any remaining contributions towards fair share by other applicants will go towards Mr. Dadwell.
Okay.
And then finally, a term of 10 years needs to be added to this agreement.
And he'll still be able to
And that
come
would be
back.
under the item 12, if you will, there, just as the entire agreement contained in this agreement amongst the parties will be for a period of set forth 10 years.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Is that all that we have?
Come on up.
Respected council members and Mayor, my name is Harvey Dadwal and I'm a developer. Instead of 10 years, I would like to extend it for 15 years.
15 years?
Yeah, to reimburse.
Yeah, I've done reimbursable agreements for 20 years, but 15 is appropriate if you want, yeah.
I like it. It just covers us.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll be watching, and anybody that develops it, you're going to come and tell us, right?
So whatever, I mean, whenever we get our money, at least we have more time to recover it.
Jim? Rick?
Sounds good.
I'm fine with it.
All right. Okay, so we've gone through the changes. We've got our plan for that. We'll add those to the minutes of the changes, and all I need now is a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Be a little more specific.
Yeah. We support the resolution of the City Council of the City of San Juan Bautista approving the reimbursement agreement as modified between the city and San Juan Bautista and Harvey Danwell.
Okay, and a second was?
Second.
37.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bob?
Yes.
Councilmember Martorana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Aye.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
All right, we'll move on.
You go ahead with that. I'm not part of the use
You want to take a break?
No, I'm just going to use the bathroom. We'll be right back.
All right.
Go ahead.
Take your mic off, okay?
Leave your phone here. Item G, request by the Strategic Plan Committee to open recruitment to fill vacancies on the Youth Commission.
This is the one I was ready for. As you probably remember, we only have 6 young people on the Youth Commission. And as a matter of fact, I just received word yesterday that one of them is moving with her family to Hollister, so that's going to take it down to 5 because the rules say that people have to live within the San Juan Aromas Unified School District, so Hollister's out of that school district. So Shauna, who kind of heads it up, that part, wants to make sure that you're all okay with us going and recruiting from various schools, some 4 or 5 more students.
Okay. Any public comment? I'll bring it back to the
John,
council.
can they use that as part of their public service requirement?
I believe that is a big yes.
That might be a motivating thing.
Right. I believe Chris and I chatted with Kathleen, the principal out at Anzar High, but it just didn't go far enough at that time.
Okay.
Thumbs up.
Good.
We need
Tony?
to do this.
Because
Absolutely
those
fantastic.
seniors, when they find out they need that community service.
There he comes.
But what we're really hoping is that the people we have now, who are mostly going out there this year, they'll be freshmen and such, will help recruit for us. So they'll be there talking about it and what a great time they're having and make it a little easier.
Update is he wants more people.
He wants kids.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck.
So, so public comment, closed public comment. Council seems to agree, and I will have it for a motion.
Move to direct the Strategic Plan Committee to open recruitment to fill vacancies in the Youth Commission.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember West?
Yes.
Councilmember Bob?
Yes.
Councilmember Martorana?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Edge?
Yes.
Mayor Lund?
Yes.
All members of the council being present, the motion is stated by the mayor passes unanimously.
All right, moving along to discussion items. Action plan and schedule for compliance order 02-05-R14-001.
And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, this is nothing more than just to let you know how I responded to the state with regard to our compliance order for providing reliable potable water source and everything. And I profiled in there 2 wells, and I extended it over a period of 2 years all the way to 2017, and how we can achieve it.
In the pellet softener plant?
This has nothing to do with the pellet softener.
Okay.
This is strictly water. We're
For
dealing
potable.
with the division of water, drinking water.
Okay.
So this is the compliance order for our potable water. The notice of violation that we talked to earlier has to do with the wastewater treatment plant and the discharge into the West Fork of the San Juan Creek, and how we can come up with a supplemental environmental plan that will eliminate that violation.
Okay. Can we go to the public on this comment? Okay. Council? Start where we left.
No, it looks good. Thank you, Roger.
All right.
Yeah, no, it looks good, very good. I think it's a good plan.
Yeah.
No, fine with me.
Okay. Let's move along to the next item. Monterey Bay Community Choice Aggravation Update.
Yes, as you recall, back in November 13th, I mean 2/13 in November, we entered into a cooperative agreement with the development, the Community Choice Aggregate Project Development Advisory Committee, okay? And they were looking at how to collect the data and then maybe develop some type of a mechanism where the cities could participate in jointly with PG&E in providing power to the cities. And as you recall this resolution, and I can read number 12, the Project Development Advisory Committee is authorized to coordinate, gather, and analyze energy load data requests on behalf of City of San Juan Bautista, consider participation in a technical study, and retain consultants' expertise to assist in the preparation of a community choice aggregate technical studies without cost to the city. And it says, whereas the resolution is no way binding or otherwise obligating the City of San Juan Bautista to participate in the community choice aggregate beyond gathering and analyzing the information. And this is just, we want to keep this thing going, so we're going to make available all our energy data for them so that we can then make a decision where and it's been very profitable for other jurisdictions to do it.
I guess the only thing that concerns me is, it's been almost 2 years since she was there.
Yeah.
What have they been doing?
I have no idea.
It's a long, slow process.
Spending their grant money?
All right, we'll move along to item C, consider selection of city volunteer to recognize on Philanthropy Day, November 12th, 2015. I went last year.
Bandit repair?
Mm-hmm.
Bandit.
Do I get to go again?
Again?
I went last year.
Vanda sent out an email.
Oh, accompany them.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great decision to give the council the name.
Did you guys get an email from Vanda?
Yeah. Was it?
I'm still going through my 812 emails.
I got one, but I can't remember it.
She recommended Ann Catano.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, who again?
Anthony
Ann
Catano?
Catano.
Ann Catano.
I was thinking of Al Castaneda, but I think, what are we going to make, next month, Al Castaneda month?
We're working on a proclamation. Al is retiring from the Donna Esters. Tammy's taking it over, and we're working on a proclamation for the month of October to honor him as September, yeah, for him to recognizing him for the community services that he's done outstanding for this community.
And we got to do that because he's still going to be in there working.
We have a speaker card?
Yes, I have a speaker card, Richard Ponce.
Waited a long time there.
Yeah, Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street. I have a name to throw out there for your consideration. It's Teresa Lamino. She, last couple of years, she's
fundraised to get tennis courts back in shape, and they're being used. Did a good job on that. And she's also working on the Alameda Fitness Park. She made a presentation to the Board of Supervisors a few months ago and was able to get $25,000 diverted from one project to another project here in San Bautista. So she got $12,500 towards the Alameda Park project, and she shared $12,500 to the Brewery Park. I think she's a young lady that's working very hard here in our community, and I think she deserves consideration. Thank you.
It's the Alameda Park.
There's
soccer field.
Yeah. So that project, the first phase is updating and fixing the soccer field, the play field on the school grounds, and then that'll move into a fitness walk around the current soccer field, and then a bridge across, including trails and access and some pretty cool stuff. I think that's a great call, Richard. The other name I'd like to put forward is Sonora Vasquez. She's worked closely with Teresa and worked very hard and virtually single-handedly raised the money for the Verde Park changes.
Yeah, you honored her
2 years ago?
2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I also suggested her too.
What's that?
I also suggested her too.
I believe it. So.
Both Teresa and Ann do a lot of work for our community, so
yeah,
we can't have two people. That was something that came up a while back. Either one of them would be great. I think Teresa should be first. Thank you.
Okay, no more public? Cards? Okay. Bring it back to the council. Hey, you know, that's a hard decision.
Yeah.
Especially when, you know...
They're cousins.
They're cousins.
Yeah.
And,
But there's also...
and it's getting close to Christmas.
But there is another year after this.
Yeah.
If you give it some consideration, we have another month.
We have another month.
Until September.
All right. We'll table the discussion over to the next month there. Is he going to be at San Juan Oaks again?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go to item D, proposal to participate in an MOU for 2015 regional orthopodo, that word? Project handbag.
And I have...
Orthopodographing? I can't say that many syllables in one word.
Apparently, I authorized the city of Hollister to participate, according to her note.
That's reaching out.
So I'd like to add something just to this agreement. Under number 6 in the indemnification provision, you're pretty much indemnifying AMBAG for everything forever. And I'd like to just narrow it down to this contract. It's a little broad there.
I would question what benefit is this going to give us? We already committed to the county GSI. We pay a premium of $8,000 a year. We're looking at an Arcad GSI, substantially cheaper in the private market. And what is this ortho, going to? I have no information on it.
Do you know what the fee is? What they're suggesting the fee is going to be?
Well,
she didn't. Did she even? I don't even see.
She didn't say at that time, and it was kind of left up in the air. You see. And
what she had told me that it was based on area. And at 0.7 miles, the fee was going to be like $1,000 or less. But I would defer to your expertise.
Yeah, we're already.
I would say is let's continue this and let me get a hold of Smith and then find out a little bit more detail how we're going to benefit and what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not gonna
So
vote
shall
for
we-
anything
I know
that's
we do
not to be
participate in
determined.
I can tell you what
GSI.
orthophotography is. If you're, essentially what they do is they correct for distortion. It's satellite photography that's corrected for distortion. So where if you've got, the satellite isn't directly overhead, they are able to correct for that. So in theory, any planning project, you can use the orthophotography and it all matches up perfectly across any area that you're dealing with. So I mean, it's a planning function, which really it's a question for you, Roger. If it's a value, great. If it's not, then
I know I went on training with the USGS years ago, and when they fly over and shoot the thing, they have cameras that are going shooting this way, this way, this way, this way. Then they get on a spectrometer and then pull it together, and then it's absolutely like you're looking down at it. And that's the way they do it through the ortho cameras.
I'm surprised that they don't have a cost on this, because this came up a long time ago.
Yeah, I could not vote for anything that to be determined. Forget that.
First indemnify us for
And
everything.
then we're going to have to do a TBC, to be continued.
There you go.
All right, so that'll pretty much wrap it up, and we'll go to comments. I'll start to my left.
I don't think I have anything tonight.
Tony?
I think I made enough comments for the whole meeting already.
Jim?
I'm just waiting till we get a decibel level noise ordinance in this county.
How did your decimal meter, how is
It went to about 78 degrees, or 78 dBA, which is pretty loud.
Sometime.
Okay.
85 is hearing loss.
Is that right?
October.
Well, at my age, I think
It's probably 45, huh?
Where did you pick up the 78?
It starts
Pardon?
at
Open the rigs.
Standing in the back of my pickup truck, holding it up in my yard,
Pointed at what?
pointed at Harding's.
Oh, I thought you were, the dogs don't bark that loud.
No, but they will.
And were you able to calibrate it yet?
Brand new, I haven't
Well,
calibrated
I'm
it.
just saying, because you had a calibration guy come into the plants.
No, he has not been there yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't think he would calibrate that
We're going to
decibel.
have one more comment. Come on up.
The problem that we're having there, I live in the same neighborhood that Jim lives there. There was a ban a few
2 weeks ago.
We had these drums that were just really, really out of control. Since then, Cardenas has designated a DJ company, I guess, and they're the only ones that are going to be playing at the weddings. So I think they are trying to take care of the problem, and they definitely no drums are going to be allowed.
Yeah.
So they have a DJ, and weddings can only use this one DJ. So I think they've got it under control.
Well, they've got it under control to a point. They always start about 6 o'clock. It's very nice, no problems. But somehow at 8 o'clock, between 8 and 10, they crank it up really good.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, but at all the weddings, they had different bands, different DJs.
Yeah, they've done a lot. They've done a lot of.
Now they just have one that's
Yeah.
allowed to play for them.
Yeah.
So they have full control over that one DJ. So hopefully that'll be better.
It has been better.
I can't hear them.
You can't hear us because
Can't hear from my house.
And the staff is working on a noise ordinance, and we'll be bringing it to the planning commission.
Do we have any cities with a model?
That will affect the bars too.
No more cheering?
Well, that's where I was going to go. I said, why don't you let me know when you're going to do that? I can go somewhere else, you know?
Rick?
No,
I'm good. I'll bring you back to
Not-
city
not-
manager. Any comment?
not public anyway.
All right.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
We're not going to have a roll.